Brand new SpaceX Starlink pricing. Which plan is best for you? That's a good question. I'm going to give you all the information that you need to know to make the right decision for you and your family. Let's dive in. Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much once again joining me. I do these videos every time there is some type of change or some new tier or some program or sale or something, because a lot of you guys are interested in knowing what is going on and which tier or which plan is right for you. Now in the past, I said, listen, there's a plan out there. It's $40 every month and you can get like 100 megabits down. People went crazy for it. They all bought it, and guess what? SpaceX discontinued it. That's what ends up happening, right? So they tested it out and it ended up being too good. And yeah, so it's gone. But if you're grandfathered into that plan, congratulations. Don't change your plan or you're going to lose it. Anyways, today we're going to get into three plans. One is called the Residential 100, Residential 200, and now they have a Residential Max. All right. And I'm going to tell you exactly what each one gives you and what they don't, so that you could make an informed decision what works out best for you, your business, your family, or what have you. That's what we're going to get into today. I'm going to obviously take out some markers I always do and pad of paper, and we're going to dive into this. Okay. Now, by the end of this video, I'll probably create a really slick graphic. So if you want to go and hit pause on any of it, so you want to write stuff down, you can. Wait to the end and I'll actually put something together for you so it's nice and easy for you to decide which one is better. Before we dive into this, I just want to say that all of the plans that I'm going to cover today are residential plans. Okay, they're stationary plans. These are plans that you're going to use like on the side of your building, maybe your business or your home. They're not roaming plans, but one of the plans gives you a roaming device for free, which is even more crazy, and a major discount. So hang tight for that. We're going to get into that before the end of this video. So let's dive right into it. You know what? Let's do this. I put together this little cheat sheet so we know what we're doing. Let me switch cameras up here. So this is the new Starlink pricing. It doesn't look great, but by the time we answer all of these questions, you're going to know which one works out best for you. And I'm going to give you even more information when we're done filling this all in. So let's start out with pricing. Pricing is the most important thing. And usually what I would do is I'll leave it to the end. I'm going to tell you right up front. So the pricing starts out at $50. This is per month. Now, this is for the 100, the residential 100 plan. $80 will get you the 200 plan. Once again, this is per month. And the max is $120 per month. All right. Now, the next thing that's important is, who is this made for? According to what SpaceX says. Now, I'm going to tell you a little bit something different after, but let's just go by what they state. Now, for Residential 100, they say that it's for like light ISP switchers or basic, let's call it basic web. Now, I don't believe in this. You could get a lot accomplished with 100 megabits down, but we'll get into that later. The next thing is the Residential 200. They say it's for most households. Now, I guess they want to call this their mid-tier, or I guess the plan that a lot of people will end up going with. And then finally, you have performance seekers. Let's call it the pro user, all right? Where you're going to get full speed, full everything, all right? We'll call it the pro user. Now, the next thing, which is really important to a lot of people, is the download speeds. What are we going to get? Well, we're going to get up to 100 megabits per second. I should write that in there, up to. The next one is up to 200 megabits per second. And as you can see, it makes sense. Residential 100, residential 200. Now, what ends up happening with the max? Well, now they say up to 400 plus megabits per second. Now, what's interesting about this 400 plus is on the JC Live show. I do it every Friday night at like 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I always do a speed test. and I show you guys live what the speeds are, because a lot of times I'll do speed tests and then I'll tell people and they're like, oh no, you're faking it. That's not real. Those numbers are fake or whatever. So I always do it live. Matter of fact, maybe before I end this video, I'll do a live speed test so you can see what my speeds are with SpaceX Starlink as of today. All right. Because some people really want to know. Anyways, let's get back into this. So we're seeing 400 plus. Now on that JC live show, like I said, I ended up getting about 367, 373, somewhere around there. That was like a couple of weeks ago. So we know 400 plus is definitely viable. It is possible. Now, the next thing is the upload speed. This is really important for people that are uploading maybe a lot of data, maybe files or whatever. Now, upload speed with this tier 100 or residential 100 would be 10 to 20 megabits per second. 10 to 20 megabits per second. Now, when you go to the Res 200, it ups to 15 to 30 megabits per second. 15 to 30 megabits per second. And finally, on this Max plan, the Res Max, you get 20 to 40 megabits per second. Now in that live, I also got about, I think it was 43 megabits per second upload speed. So that was really quite good. Once again, that was just like a couple of weeks ago, 43 megabits up. In the past, when I first started with this SpaceX Starlink stuff about 58 months ago or so, when we were coming just out of beta, I was getting anywhere from about 35 to 45 megabits upload speed. And then as more and more people, there was about 112,000 of us at that time. And now that there's like 9 million, the speeds have gotten slower, but all of a sudden they're starting to go back up. And the reason being is there's over 9,400 SpaceX Starlink satellites now in low Earth orbit. As you can see, that is a lot, and it can handle a lot of people, and there's less congestion, so they can increase the speeds accordingly. Anyways, let's get back into this. So the next thing is latency. A lot of people don't understand latency, but latency is very important. Now, what they say is right across the board, you're going to get 30 to 50 milliseconds latency for all of these. Now, this is kind of good. What that means is they're only reducing the amount of speed, your max speed. They're not reducing the latency, or let's say increasing the latency to people that are paying less. And that's really important. Now, when they say 30 to 50 milliseconds, like I said, I'm getting in the 20s, usually about 22 to about 26 milliseconds latency. And we'll check that out when we do a speed test in just a second. I've seen as low as 14.3 milliseconds latency. And what Elon Musk has said in the past is, listen, I'm a gamer. I want to see less than 20 milliseconds latency, because if you're a gamer, you know latency is everything. Ping is everything, especially if you're doing a first-person shooter or something like that. If you're doing conference calls or anything like that, you want to have a very low latency. Anyways, let's jump back into this. So the next thing is data cap. Is there a data cap on any of these? And the answer is none to all of them. This is important. That means, once again, they are not capping you on the amount of data that you can use. It is unlimited. You could use as much as you want. You can use it 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, all month long. And it doesn't matter if you use just gigabytes of data or if you use terabytes of data, you're still going to pay the exact same price, which is nice. The next thing is priority, network prioritization. As far as the Res 100 and 200, both of them is standard. This is your prioritization, let's call it, standard. Now, when it comes to the Max, they say highest. This is what they call it, highest priority. Now, bear in mind, when they say highest priority, that is highest priority out of these residential plans. Before I go any further, this is very, very important. It's an important detail that they don't cover. And probably not a lot of channels are going to cover this, and it is very important. The way network prioritization goes is like this. You get the absolute worst connection if you have a roaming plan. That is called deprioritized data, meaning that if there's congestion in the area, you are going to get slower speeds. The next tier up from deprioritized is priority data, or standard as they call it, and that's what we see in the Res 100 and Res 200. If you have a max, you're going to get a higher priority over Res 100 and Res 200, meaning if there's congestion in the area, the 100 and 200 will start slowing down, whereas the maximum will still stay up there, unless the congestion is coming from something that has even greater priority over max. What is that? That is the business class, the corporate class. If there's a lot of corporate buildings near you and they're all using a ton of data, well, they get priority over you. So that's how the tiers go. You go deprioritized, which is usually your roaming packages. Also, they used to have a residential light for $80 a month. I don't see it anywhere anymore. I guess they're getting rid of it, but that's why I didn't put it on this list at all. Residential light is $80, which is the same price as this Res 200, so there's no reason to even have it. It wouldn't make any sense. Anyways, that used to be deprioritized, almost identical to a roaming type package, but it was residential. So it was kind of stupid. They were kind of testing it out. Anyways, it goes from deprioritized to standard, which is the Res 100 and 200, into the max, which is a little bit higher. And then finally, your maximum, let's say priority, your highest tier priority is your corporate or business class. Anyways, jumping back into this. Next comes to congestion, and congestion is very important because what slows down when there's congestion, and that goes back into the prioritization. The way it works is like this. Out of these three plans, your speed's slow when Res 200 or max is needing it. So this package will slow down if Res 200 or max, or actually also corporate, is needing that data. If you go up to Res 200, then it slows down if max, or once again the corporate, I'm not going to write it, corporate needs that data at that moment. And finally, under max, the only time max will slow down is if a business, I'm just going to put biz, a business class is going to be needing that data, that speed, that priority. Next, best for. Now, this is something that I put in here, and the reason being is because this is more the way I look at it. If you're doing like browsing, let me just put like web and maybe light gaming, I'll just put light game, that type of stuff. Any of your basic stuff, you're doing email, you're doing teleconferencing, you're doing homeschooling, any of that, this tier, this Res 100 is more than sufficient, okay? But if you're doing something like 4K TV, and then your kid is gaming at the same time, and you're doing a teleconference, well, at that point, you're going to want the residential 200 because you're going to end up with faster speeds, 200 megabits down. Your upload speed will also be faster, 15 to 30 megabits up in comparison to 10 to 20. And you're not going to slow down unless a max customer or a corporate customer needs that data at that specific moment. And finally, under max, this is for like heavy use. All right, I'm just going to put heavy here. And this means heavy peak use, heavy gaming use, heavy 4K. Let's say you have 4K in one room, you got 4K TV in another room, and then you have a gamer playing a video game, let's say, and then you have someone doing teleconference, whatever. You could be doing all of this with that residential max, and you're going to have no problem at all. Up to 400 megabits down and 40 plus megabits up. It is there. You're not going to have any issues at all. That is a ton. That is a lot for, once again, this $120 per month. Now, next, when it comes to availability, Res 100 shows up as address dependent. So I'm just going to write here address, and you're going to know when you type in your address if it is available. The same thing holds true with this. It is address dependent. Now, when we get into the max, I'm going to write broad here, okay? Because you can get it just about everywhere. If you can get SpaceX Starlink somewhere, you're going to be able to get max. And then the next thing, of course, would be your hardware. What do you get with it? Well, you get a standard dish. And then also with residential 200, you get a standard dish. Now this is where things change. With the Max, you not only get a standard dish, let's put standard right here, but you also get a mini. Now that is massive. The reason why it is so big is because you're getting that standard dish, that Generation 3 Wi-Fi 6 dish, but then they also give you a mini that you can use for roaming. That is incredible. Because remember, that dish, the mini, used to go for like $599. Then they dropped it to like $499. Every once in a while, you're able to find it for $349. But they're giving it to you for free. The only thing that you need to do is make sure that you pay an extra $5 per month to keep it on. They call it standby, all right? Standby plan allows you to use that dish with approximately just under 1 megabit, not 100, 200, 400, 1 megabit up, 1 megabit down. I know it sounds like it's nothing, but if you come from like AT&T, DSL, or Uverse, you're probably like, yeah, that's not bad. That's what I was getting. It's pretty sad. But anyways, I got that for about 25 years. So not fun, but it is what it is. Now, of course, we dumped them, thank God, for SpaceX Starlink, and that's why I've been doing these videos over the course of the last almost 60 months, and I have about 600 videos. Matter of fact, I'll put a link here. When you're done watching this video, check it out right here. About 618 or something videos of helpful how-tos, tips, tricks, what to do, what not to do, what to buy, what not to buy, and all the rest of the stuff. And of course, the why. The why is the most important. That's what I deal with on this channel, the why. Anyways, the reason why this mini is so important is because not only do you get the hardware for free, but what they do is since you have residential Max and you're paying that $120 per month, they're going to give you the roaming plan for half price. So for example, if you were to get the unlimited roaming plan, and it normally costs $165, you're going to end up paying about $82.50, somewhere around there. Do the math. I'm guessing. I think it's about $82.50. So that is a major savings. Now, some people will be like, well, I'm already paying $120. Yes, but now you actually have a dish that you can take with you. And it's only costing you $82.50 when you turn it on. If you don't turn it on, it's on standby and it's only costing you $5 a month. So you're going to end up paying $125 a month because you get two dishes and one just sits there on standby until you go on vacation or whatever. So that is, I think that this is really, really great. I've been wanting this for quite some time and they're finally doing it because a lot of people have said, oh, roaming fees are so expensive, and they really are. They also have the cheaper ones where it's like a 50 by 50. I think they might have 100 by 100. What that means is you're paying like $50 and you get like 50 gigabytes. And then once the 50 gigabytes is over, then you end up paying like $1, $2 every gigabyte more. It gets to be expensive really quickly. So I don't like that stuff. I want to pay and then just get unlimited. And that's what ends up happening when you get the $165 plan, but with this, $82.50. So what's nice is, let's say you're only going to use it for 1 month out of the year. That's fine. You're paying $125 every single month. That dish stays on, it stays current, it updates the firmware continuously. You don't have to worry about it bricking because you left it in the closet for 2 years and now it can't update anymore and you have to get a new one. Right? It stays current all the time. You're paying that $5. And then during the 1 month when you go on your, let's say, hiking trips or whatever, and you're in the mountains somewhere, well, guess what? You get high-speed internet wherever you are. You could be at the top of the mountain. You could be on a boat. It doesn't matter. You could be in a desert and you're going to get internet, high-speed internet, wherever you are. Now, there's another thing that I absolutely love about this that no one is talking about, and that is the safety that is inherent, that comes with it, okay? That is so, I think it's just amazing. For me, being in Florida, we get hit with hurricanes all the time, right? All with a big air quotes, but when we do, they're pretty bad, okay? So what ends up happening is we lose power. We might lose power for 5 hours. We might lose power for 5 days. One time we lost power for 2 weeks. Well, with this program, which is just $5 per month, You have this dish not to go and take with you, let's say, for this vacation, but in case of an emergency. You just simply turn it on, and now instead of having a dish that you have to plug into your wall, you can have this dish that plugs directly into a Jackery or some kind of battery or some type of solar generator, and now you have full speed internet access and you don't have to worry about it. You have access to speak to your loved ones. You can tell people that everything is okay. If you need to make a phone call, you need to call anything. You have full communication for that small fee of $5 per month. Now, if you need faster speed, then you just simply use your 8250, you turn it on, and now you get max speed out of it. Now remember, like I said a few minutes ago, max speed with a mobile or roaming type of setup is deprioritized, meaning that if there's people in your area, and there will be, because in case of a hurricane, people are going to be using their SpaceX Starlinks, they're not going to be using their fiber and their cable and the rest of the infrastructure that got damaged or partially damaged or without power. Because people don't understand this also. It's like they think that, oh, I have T-Mobile or I have Verizon or I have AT&T Air, which is basically a connection between you and a tower, and you have a small router, okay? They're like, oh, I'm okay. You're not. And the reason being is when these events happen, perfect example is like a hurricane, when the power goes out in the area, the power to those cell towers go out too. They don't all have backups. Trust me, there's very few. So when the power goes out to that cell tower, guess what? You don't have connection anymore. But if you have your SpaceX Starlink Mini and it's plugged into a battery, guess what? You have full connection. So let's go ahead and in here write none on this line for roaming. For the Res 200, we're also going to write none. And then finally, in this column, we're going to say yes, because it does allow for roaming, because it's giving you 2 dish. And you get 50% off the cost of roaming. So whatever plan you go with, you're going to get 50% off. That is great. That is a really, really good deal. Now, like I said, I'm going to do a quick speed test for you. This will be live. Or recorded live. This will show you exactly what speeds I'm getting. Now remember, this is from a dish that is a Generation 2 dish that's been through, I don't even know, countless hurricanes. It's been sitting there for 4 years, never cleaned, never nothing. It's just sitting on the top of the building. So the app looks like this. All right, now for me, matter of fact, you know what? Let me do it top down so you can see what this looks like. And as you can see right now, our latency is 24 milliseconds with our uptime, our ping, being 99.9. That basically means it's 100% uptime. There is no outages. If we slide up and then go to speed test, this is where we do our speed test. Let me go ahead and hit start. Now remember, this speed test is directly from the router. This is not a speed test from the phone. We are getting data directly from the router. We're getting 390, 380, 390 again, 401 I just saw. Look at that, 408 megabits down. That is crazy. Look at this upload speed, 54, 53, 52. 47, slowed down a little bit. We're dropping, but we were getting some pretty quick speeds in the 50s. 408 down, 34 up, and 23 milliseconds. That's your latency. And we were seeing some peaking at about 50 megabits per second. That is incredible, guys. That is some really fast speeds. And this is why I do this live on the show, on the JC live show, because people never believe me. They're like, oh yeah, sure, you got 408 megabits down. And I'm like, no, I did. I promise you. So that's why I do it live all the time. So there you go. 408, 34 by 23. So guys, the speeds that we're seeing with SpaceX Starlink these days are unbelievable, and they're only going to get better. What people don't understand as of yet is how much better are they going to get. Now, when Starship comes online and starts depositing the version 3 satellites on orbit, everything's going to change. These speeds are going to be normal. When you see 408 here, you're going to get 408. There's going to be gigabit speeds available. Gigabit, that's 1,000 megabits. through SpaceX Starlink. And the up speed, we're going to see about 40, 50, 60, sometimes 80 megabits up. Trust me on this, guys. Just wait for it. Most likely the gigabit connection, they're going to push out to the corporate and business class, because remember, those dish are larger. I'm going to predict that they will have a new dish out, a Generation 4, and a new business class also, once those version 3, Generation 3 Starlink satellites are on orbit. Those version 3 satellites are going to be 10 to 15 times the capacity as the current ones. So the equivalent of one version 3 would be 10 or 15 of the version 2 minis, the ones that are currently being placed onto orbit with the Falcon 9 rocket. The problem with the new version 3 is that they're too big. They won't fit in the Falcon 9, in that capsule at the top. They just can't fit. Or they would only be able to fit maybe 2 or 3 or 4 or something. There's no reason to do that. Once the Starship comes online, it's going to be able to deposit 100, maybe 60, 80, maybe 120, a lot of them every single time. And remember, at 10 to 15 times the capacity, just think about the amount at that point, right? That is absolutely nuts, because even if it was 10 times, by putting 10 of those Starlink version 3s on orbit would be the equivalent of putting 100 of the current version 2 minis. So there's going to be major changes that happen now in 2026. Major. So just hang tight. I'm going to be reporting on it anyway. So just keep watching the channel. Subscribe to the channel. If you enjoy this type of content, you want more, once again, take a look at those videos. Give this video a thumbs up. Help me spread the word, right? Tell your friends, family, colleagues about the channel, about this video. Push it out there, right? To your Reddit, to your Facebook, or wherever you frequent. That would be awesome. If you want to give back to the channel, there's a little thanks button over there. Click on that. Give $1 or $2 if you like. If not, it's perfectly fine. The video is still free. Consider becoming a member of the channel. That would be even better. And if you haven't taken a look at any of my merch, head over to JCristina.com/shop. Once again, JCristina.com/shop. Before I forget, I know this doesn't look great and it's kind of hard to read, so I put together a nice little infographic just for you. I'm going to throw it on the screen now. Hit pause and take a screenshot or whatever you want to do. It'll give you all of the information that you need without having to decipher some of my messy writing. And finally, since you stayed to the end of this video, I'm going to give you a month free. What do you think about that? So if you go to JCristina.com/Starlink, once again, JCristina.com/Starlink, it will automatically send you over to Starlink's webpage and stick a code into it so that I get 1 month free and you get 1 month free. That's it. I don't get any money from SpaceX. They've never given me a single dime, but it's a way for me to get a month free and a way for you to get a month free if you're getting new service. Once again, go to JCristina.com/Starlink if you're picking up service, because you will get that 1 month free. Anyways, guys, I hope you enjoyed this. Many blessings to you and your family. Stay safe, stay healthy, stay connected, hopefully through SpaceX Starlink, maybe one of their new plans. And we'll see you in the next one. Love you guys.